I just had a client just last week share with me that, we're going to have some trouble moving forward because we've got a paralegal going out on medical or to take care of a family member. They're going to be gone for at least 3 months. And there's another paralegal that's going to be out for a shorter period of time, but it might turn into a longer period of time. And I said, I have the perfect person for you. Well, hello and welcome to another guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. And for those of you who know, I batch record these episodes, right? So I have a podcast recording day once a month, and I have a bunch of guests on the show. And this is my second repeat guest of the day, but this one wins as far as like how long it's been since the last interview. So Jaclyn Foster was our guest back on episode 122. So you can go to profitwithlaw.com/122 to take a look at it. Just to put that in context, that was August 6th, 2020 is the day we released that episode. So been a while since Jaclyn was here. However, she's been involved in our Law Firm Growth Summit. She's been a speaker there. And she and I, our paths are constantly crossing in the legal space. I'm a big fan of what she is doing, and namely, she's elevating paralegals and the entire paralegal industry and workforce with the work that she's doing. Recently, she released a book called Paralegals Should Be Millionaires. So she's the author of that book and the president of Virtual's Paralegal Division, which is a company that does virtual staffing, and fairly recently, and within the last couple of years, bought her out and has her running that division. And so she's a former paralegal turned entrepreneur, built and scaled her own virtual paralegal agency to multiple six figures before leading it through acquisition. Today, she's known for helping law firms grow smarter through strategic staffing and for empowering paralegals to build businesses, charge their worth, and reclaim control of their careers. Now, I love what Jaclyn is doing for the very simple thing that so many of my clients are transitioning away from this hourly billing model to flat fee, subscription, all these different ways that we're packaging and delivering our services. And the purpose of doing that is to make more money. And the way that we make more money is by getting more and more work away from the attorney and to those staff below the attorney, the paralegal, the legal assistants, basically getting the attorney to be able to handle more clients, more throughput. So essentially, the entire profit model of the legal industry and the way it's heading is leaning even more and more on paralegals to get that work done. And there's a number of practice areas where paralegals do more work than the attorney. There's others where not, like criminal defense. The paralegal's not going to court for the client, which is where most of the time is being spent. But in other areas like estate planning, for example, the paralegal is doing the bulk of the work. They're doing the drafting. They're creating that actual document. All the attorney is basically the showman for the dance that's going to happen with the client. And even then, I argue that even more and more of those conversations could be handled by the paralegal. The only thing that can't is the actual legal advice. So we're stepping into a day and age where the paralegal is needed more than ever. The value that you can unlock from them is greater than ever. And I think it's probably wise to have somebody on the show to talk to that industry and help us to understand how it fits into our organization and what the direction of that industry is. Jaclyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back, Moshe. It is very nostalgic being back here 5 years later. I can't believe it's been that long, but thank you for having me back.
Yes. And so much has happened. Heck, you built a house from scratch, right? Like since that time, your business has been purchased, all these changes. So normally I ask you to tell us like your backstory, how'd you get here? But for you, I think they can go listen to episode 122 for that. Tell us a little bit about this journey from 2020 to now. What has changed in your world, and what has changed in the industry that you feel is like the thing that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, yes, they can go back to that episode and listen. But for context, I can remember having those conversations, getting on podcasts early on in my business, getting myself visible, trying to build this thing from the ground up. And, back then it was a lot of help. We're furloughing our employees. We're laying them off. People are leaving. The market is blowing up for, big sharks are taking advantage of the little ones right now and stealing our employees. We need some support and we need it now. To how we've evolved from that, but also, and a spoiler alert, also somehow coming back to it in some trying economic times. But it's interesting how I couldn't have imagined how my journey would have taken off from there, because when you and I originally were speaking on that podcast episode, I had no involvement with trying to encourage paralegals to embrace entrepreneurship. That came later as I found my own success. And it's amazing how the two paired together and have created what we now see: large nationwide virtual assistant agencies, some of the biggest names out there, adding virtual legal support services as, an added offering to their menu of services out there. Market reports are showing how much virtual paralegal, virtual legal assistant support is going to be increasing over the years. So really, and then we can start unpacking that. It's been an evolution for both professionals in the industry, both law firms as well as paralegals, where it truly became a rising tide lifts all boats scenario. Law firms have seen, from COVID to now, the immediate impact to their law firm when they staff smart, hire fractional for the exact things they need in the exact moment during the ebbs and flows and everything in between. Paralegals recognizing that law firms benefit so incredibly much from that model that now they're finding business opportunities, and now they're saying goodbye to the hybrid $50,000 a year salaries, crappy benefits type of, just where the paralegals have been stuffed since their inception back in the 1960s. Just that secretary paralegal paid for the lowest value they provide, but expected to do high level of work. They're seeing we can break free, create businesses that truly solve huge problems for law firms. And the two things simultaneously happening is what led me to where I am today, running Zirtual's paralegal division as president and having been able to successfully, exit my own company. It's been amazing.
I love the way that you encapsulated that. And I really look at this like, okay, what is the opportunity for law firms? And one of the biggest challenges for law firms at every stage of growth, whether you're brand new, you're a solo, you're just trying to figure out how to bring on your first person, to you've got a team of 20 or 30 and you're trying to figure out, is it time to hire another attorney? Is it time to hire another paralegal? One of the beautiful things that we have in the marketplace today as a byproduct of all of these things happening is the ability to get everybody in a fractional capacity. Right? We can get a paralegal for 10, 20 hours a week and have them step in and fill in when our capacity is at its max. We're not sure if it's here to stay. We're not ready to commit to bringing on somebody full time. This is basically an ability to be able to continue to grow without needing to either make an investment in somebody who it's going to take a while for you to fill their plate, or choose to turn away clients because you're at capacity. Which boggles my mind. And when I have somebody walk into my room and they're like, "Yeah, I'm currently turning away clients because we're out of capacity," I'm like, "What? Yeah. Like what kind of business model is that you're turning business away?" And actually, we're going to sidebar here for 1 second, just because I have to make this comment. If you're turning people away, it is the opportunity for you to test the marketplace with your pricing. So start raising your prices in that moment rather than turning people away. And I don't mean small or slowly. Like if you're charging hourly and you're charging $350 an hour and you're full, the next person walks in the door, charge $550 an hour, $600 an hour. See what you can get somebody to say yes to, because you have nothing to lose. You were going to turn them away anyway. And the same thing with paralegals and the paralegal work that they're doing is, if you're billing specifically for their work, figure out how to play with that, figure out how to use the opportunity that you're maxed out to say, okay, I can actually bring in somebody fractional to handle this work. Let me see if I can play with the market and see what the market can dictate, what the market can do. If you're at capacity and you haven't looked for a while at how you're getting things done, can we move more things to the paralegal's plate? Can we take more things off the attorney's plate, move it to the paralegal's plate? But the paralegal's busy. What are we going to do? We're going to call Jaclyn, right? And we're going to find a fractional paralegal that's going to come in with experience, hit the ground running. We're not going to have a ramp up time. They're literally going to jump in, ask for a username and password, and start working on the files. And I don't know if it's exactly that easy, but that's the concept, is like we have this opportunity that really empowers us to be able to grow without any excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's exactly it. And over the last 5 years, that's been the core to my messaging, playing around with different types of visualizations for attorneys. How I always like to call it is the stepping stone staffing strategy, where, and let me back up for a minute. I think that, let's talk first, why wouldn't they do that? Why wouldn't they bring in a paralegal fractionally for the exact amount of time they need? Nothing long-term commitment. You can ebb them, flow them, increase their time, decrease their time, depending on your seasonality in any given moment. The reason why, and I will die on this hill saying this over and over again, the reason why attorneys would reject that is because they start to get in their own way of comparing a virtual paralegal to an employee. And there's been this shiny object syndrome around hiring an employee. Once I hire employees, I'm a legit business, or that's more sustainable, or we'll keep employees around longer and longer. So they look at this virtual paralegal and they compare it to, well, I don't have full control of their day 8 hours a day, or they're not sitting in an office at the desk in my office, in the corner office, to make me look legitimate. The thing is they're completely separate individuals that you're utilizing and leveraging in your business. You cannot say a virtual paralegal is a substitute for a W-2, because when you have the need, when you have the full 40-hour a week, it's here to stay plus some, hire that full-time person. You are going to get a better bang for your buck if you can hire an employee in that full-time capacity. But the in-between growth phase, so now talking about the stepping stone staffing strategy, when you're trying to go from this level of revenue to this level of revenue, and you do this like up, down, up, down, up, down, as you're trying to climb that big leap, put the stones in between the staircase to make smaller steps in your support. So like you said, never turn away business, never shut off your marketing. I've done interviews with marketing agencies that gear towards legal, and they say it's the worst thing when our clients tell us to shut off their ads, shut off their marketing, because now we've lost all that momentum and we need to build it back up. And then we're scrambling. Now we are, we've closed a few files, we've lost a couple clients, maybe they fired us for poor communication, what have you, because our staff is overloaded. And now we are scrambling and attorneys aren't taking paychecks home. Staff is feeling, the pressure. It's not a formula for success. And the biggest industries leverage this: tech, healthcare, real estate, agencies themselves. Zirtual leverages this model with their own VAs to get them to next big hires in the company. That's the way to staff smartly, and not to conflate the W-2 employee's purpose with the virtual fractional paralegal's purpose. You don't conflate them. They have two different reasons to be in your business, supporting that growth.
Yeah, I think that there's also, we need to make the distinction between virtual versus in person or in office, and then fractional versus full-time, right? Like, yep. They're not necessarily separate and equal together, right? It's not always virtual, fractional has to go together. You can have a full-time paralegal that's virtual and it's very valuable and they're great, right? Like, if you're in New York and you can hire an awesome paralegal in Wisconsin, you're going to pay somebody a lot less to do the job because they have different needs there, right? Like, it's just a different market than the one that you're in. So you can benefit from the fact that the person, has a lower cost of living and demands less from you from a salary perspective and is still an amazing person. And the virtual concept is something that was very new coming into COVID, but then post-COVID, it became something that's pretty much run of the mill. Like I think that most law firms who have multiple employees on staff have at least one virtual employee. I think the challenge here might be the fact that we equate virtual employees with cheaper employees, and that's not necessarily the case, right? Like, yeah, if you're getting a virtual employee in the Philippines or in Latin America, you're probably getting them for somewhere between $6 and $12 an hour. But a virtual paralegal might be more expensive than an in-office, in-person paralegal, because you're getting somebody who's specific to your needs. And I think this is really where the point I wanted to make is one of the biggest challenges the firms have is in the hiring process, right? Even if you need a full-time person, you're limited to the people that are available in your area that are looking for a job. If you can take somebody virtual, and I don't know how you feel about this and with your business model, Jaclyn, but if you can take somebody fractional who comes in experienced and they're doing a great job, and now you're like, all right, how do I get this person to be full-time? How do I get them to be on my payroll? Is there that transition process from that virtual staffing agency to get them in? What better way to hire than to have somebody step in and do a job? And if they're not doing it, it's somebody else's responsibility to replace them with the person who will do it. And then ultimately, when you find somebody who's good, who you're happy with, now if you have enough work, you figure out how to get them full time. To me, that seems like solving another need in the industry, besides for the growth need of overcoming this big HR problem that we have, which is it's hard to find attorneys. It's hard to find good paralegals with industry experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think that when it comes to your point on the hiring and how difficult it is, commonly in law firms, especially solos, startup firms, trying to get to their first $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, what we see a lot is they hire inexperience because they feel that's what they can afford. And on the other side, because I'm deep in the trenches of the paralegal community, I have a huge network of paralegals around me. They are looking for a foot in. So they might apply to those positions, not because they anticipate staying there making the $15 an hour that you can afford for them or $20 an hour that you can afford, but because every other law firm requires some sort of experience, being certified, background, education. I was in the paralegal recruiting space for W-2 employees for some time in my company, and it just doesn't seem to matter as much as that experience does. So these attorneys bring in these inexperienced, who they think they can afford, or who they think is only available to them in their local market. They train them up. They invest all this time. Now the attorney is spending hours and hours of time they should be working on things that turn profit for the firm, training this person for them to always be open to other opportunities and then leave the firm, and the wheel keeps spinning like that. And so now to the second point of something that really isn't talked about a lot in the virtual space of, yes, bringing somebody in. I see my clients do one of two things. And actually just recently had an experience with this first thing I'm going to share. They will bring somebody in. Let me use an example. I had a trademark company come to me or trademark law firm coming to me, intellectual property, did some patent work. Very hard to find qualified people in that space, even in the virtual capacity. It's very hard to be competitive in IP. There's big firms out there paying IP paralegals $150 plus per year. And so they've had a difficult time finding somebody. They were done with it. They came to us and they said, hey, we need some support. So let's start with 40 hours a month of just some extra patent support. They ended up loving the virtual paralegal so much that we worked out a buyout transition arrangement that cost them truly less than they would have paid a recruiter in a contingency fee to go find the same individual. But here they've already integrated. They've already went through here's where our files are. Do we like this person? It's not temp to hire. We don't operate like that, but there's that hiring pathway if necessary. Now, other firms, what they'll do in that moment is if they say, we really like this person, but we do want hybrid employees. If they're going to be on our payroll, we want them at least to be hybrid, coming into the office a couple times a week. And in that scenario, they utilize that virtual paralegal to get them to help them get to the next level of we're at max capacity and so much more that we're ready for that next level of hire. They'll just scale back that virtual paralegal as they get to the next hire. So they'll hire in the job market, hire a recruiter, find somebody else to come work local to their firm. And then they scale back. Maybe they get up to 80 hours a month with that paralegal, 100 hours per month. And now they're like, hey, let's put them back to 15, 20, because at least we're keeping them integrated in the law firm. Should we lose somebody or should we have a spike in cases? So there's so many opportunities there between possibly integrating full time or just leveraging them for the true benefit of ebb and flow, stretch and release. Let's see what how we can leverage this paralegal to really get us to that next level of growth.
Yeah, I love that. And it's it's really this unique opportunity, this unique solution to this problem. And I love how you shared, because it's interesting, because I have this problem with my clients with hiring attorneys, and we address it at nauseum. But we never really focused on the paralegal side, and you saying it, and I'm like, yeah, of course, because that's who you focus on. Like, I should really be paying attention to that too. This idea of hiring somebody inexperienced, right? So I learned early on, we have our elite our law firm growth elite fast track program, which is a group coaching program for solos looking to grow beyond themselves. They come in as a maxed out solo, and we're going to get them to $1 to $2 million in revenue in 12 months.
Yeah.
And we do that by helping them navigate how to take the plunge and hire an attorney, how to find that person, how to compensate them, how to train them, how to get them involved in their work. One of the things I found early on when going through this with my clients is they weren't getting results. Like, they were hiring somebody and then they were moving backwards rather than forwards. And it wasn't until a number of my clients went through it, I finally realized, it hit me, that they were hiring inexperienced attorneys because they were trying to get the cheapest person in the door. And the problem is that when you're maxed out, you don't need another project, right? Another project's going to slow you down. You need somebody who, when you hire them, 6 weeks later, they're covering their salary. And that's going to happen by hiring somebody with experience. And the paralegal space, it could be exactly the same way, which is you want somebody with experience coming in. You don't need a project to train. Yeah, one day when you're a multi-million-dollar law firm and you're bored, or your leader of your legal team is bored, and they want to take on a project and see if we can get somebody we can train from the ground up, teach them our ways, and get them for a small price, maybe, right? I mean, Jaclyn made a good point that once you train them up, they're going to go fishing somewhere else, right? So, but there's a huge cost to bringing in somebody inexperienced, and it's not just the cost of their lack of productivity during that ramp up phase. It's the cost of your time, your energy, your lack of focus on other areas that you should be focusing on. That's really the thing that holds you back. That's the thing that's really the killer that makes it not work when you hire somebody. So hiring for experience is really important, especially when you're a small business, and doing it through, fractional virtual, services makes so much sense. It really, like, it's a no-brainer to me. So, Jaclyn, you moved away from, I feel like there's this, you were on this trajectory of, first you were creating your own agency, right? You had your own paralegal services. You were basically doing what you're doing now for Zirtual, but for yourself. And then you started educating paralegals on how to, create their own agency and do this for themselves, and to go out there and provide these services to law firms. And then when you went to Zirtual, did that stop? Did that go away? Because it's almost like your book is written for those people, but where are you at in that process? And just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it definitely didn't go away. I still retain my coaching of paralegals, my courses, and all of that. And Great question, because it's the conversation of my dad asked me when I first launched that course back in 2021. He's like, aren't you just creating competition for yourself? Like, that seems like the silliest thing to have an agency and then teach paralegals how to start their own businesses and be your competition. And I'm like, no, originally when I had started, and there's a point to this, I promise, but originally when I had started my courses, it wasn't to lead some big movement or create a second revenue stream for my company. Truly what it was I was hitting a roadblock in my own agency growth. I grew faster than I could have imagined. And as the pandemic, I don't want to say slowed down because it was years before things started to feel like normal. But when people started going back into the office, I was struggling finding paralegals that were full-time, ready to be independent, 1099, wanting to freelance, quote unquote, if you will, do that full time. And so to pair that with my clients, it was getting very difficult. I was running into issues of retention, paralegals just using it as a in between jobs. And then I'm going to dump you as soon as I get that offer. So I started this course to find more like-minded paralegals that saw an opportunity in the virtual space and really wanted to commit full time. I found through that more business-minded, customer service forward paralegals that didn't think like employees anymore. And so that's how it started. And my course started with a group of like 50 people took my course. I priced it at $50. So low. And that's how it really started. So fast forward, I kind of let that go on the back burner for a while. And then started it back up here in, I think it would have been 2024, 2023, somewhere in there. I started my courses back up and really dedicating to my brand, just for more, because I was watching this industry change so much. I did then see an opportunity for a second revenue stream for myself to really start gathering these paralegals that can take my proven six-figure roadmap paralegal business course, right? And so when Zirtual and I connected, that was a talking point. I can remember very specifically sitting with the investors who own Zirtual and asking them, this is really important to me. I love coaching paralegals. I love moving this industry forward. I want to be a part of that voice, that tribe, if you will, that gets this paralegal industry finally evolved past just, the ABA gave a paralegal distinction. Nobody really paid attention to it. Let's finally see this through and see paralegals owning a space in the industry. And I told them how important that was to me to continue doing. I couldn't even imagine leaving my longtime paralegal students and all I do. And they flat out told me, we see how that really actually complements what you do over at Zirtual Paralegals. And when they had said that, I have chills thinking about it. I knew I found home, because they see truly how we're creating more demand by creating more paralegals out there. I don't feel like I have any job security issues. I very much specialize in the person that finds the right fit for law firms. That's my bread and butter. I sit and consult with them, attorneys. I know I can sense their needs within the first 10 minutes of a call and solve it with immediate impact based on my strategy, my recruiting, my hiring strategy that I have in place, that has moved into Zirtual's, framework of how they run the division. So long-winded answer to tell you, I'm still doing both, because as stated before, it is a rising tide lifts all boats scenario. Two things can be happening at the same time, empowering paralegals over here, because attorneys benefit so much when paralegals are elevated to their highest value, owning it, creating businesses, knowing where to come in and solve, give them immediate ROI from it, and make that growth process such less painful. So it complements one another. And I'm living, honestly, Moshe, I'm living my dream life. I could never have imagined 5 years ago that I'd be running a nation-leading virtual assisted paralegal staffing division while also getting to do my passion work of coaching, mentoring, and writing books. It's amazing. I'm very lucky.
And having a farm and raising a kid and all that stuff. So
all the stuff.
Yes, love it. Really, it's really interesting, because it's almost like you have this natural pathway for your students to go through your course and then have potential employment through Zirtual. right off the bat until they can find their way, figure out where they want to be, and what they want to maybe like put their stake in the ground and focus on, and that becomes their expertise. Maybe that'll help them get their expertise. Really interesting stuff. I love the direction, but more importantly, I think that it's really important for attorneys to know that you have this option at your fingertips. I just had a client just last week share with me that, we're going to have some trouble moving forward because we've got a paralegal going out on medical or to take care of a family member. They're going to be gone for at least 3 months. And there's another paralegal that's going to be out for a shorter period of time, but it might turn into a longer period of time. And I said, oh, I have the perfect person for you. Let me shoot an intro to Jaclyn, because she's going to fill your plate, right? Like, she's going to put somebody in that's going to be the right experience for your firm and just keep you moving forward in the direction that you're going. So there's an infinite number of possibilities of where this might be helpful for you. Just knowing that you have the option to just reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you, do you have somebody you could put on my team temporarily or permanently or for a part-time or full-time, any of that stuff. Like, there's an infinite number of possibilities for how you use that in the growth of your firm. So love everything you're doing, Jaclyn. I love the book. We bought a few copies. So actually we purchased 5 copies to give away. We're going to give that away on social here on the podcast. Just email my team, info@dreambuilderfinancial.com if you want a copy of it. Or ping us on social. Just comment on any of the places where we're talking about this episode, and we'll be happy to ship one of those out to you. If it's something you want to gift to your paralegal on your team, I know it sounds counterintuitive giving them a book that says that paralegals should be millionaires, but I think you should want the best in every one of your team members, giving them something that can help them grow as a person and the way that they think. It can only come and help you. So it might be something that you might want to give to the paralegals on your team. But just love the direction of your journey, Jaclyn. I've been a silent cheerleader for you on the sidelines here, and really love what you're doing. So just keep it up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Moshe. Your support over the years, couldn't have done it without you. Truly, genuinely, thank you.
All right, so we're going to close out the show now. We're out of time. Just one parting piece of advice or wisdom for our community, and where would you like to send them if they want to learn more or take a next step in contacting you?
Yeah, so I'll leave you with this one mindset shift. Mostly attorneys listen to this, so I'll leave with the one mindset shift around delegation and looking for a virtual support solution. Never ask, when you're on a call, hopefully with me, never ask, what can they do? Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need, and we staff to the need. Don't keep hiring people and then trying to figure out what they're best at or figure out what's in their resume, what experience can I pull out. Hire for your need. There are specific people out there that have exactly what you're looking for. And that's what I specialize in. 110%. I do it all day, every day. So get in touch with me. You can visit Zirtual.com. And you'll be able to request a free consultation together to determine if it's a good fit to work together and get you staffed through Zirtual Paralegals.
Awesome. So, Jaclyn, we're going to share all that in the show notes, link it all up. So, folks, it's in the description of your podcast player, as well as at profitwithlaw.com. And if you're intrigued about what it might look like to work with us in our Law Firm Growth Elite Fast Track program, or if you're a larger firm and you're interested in exploring our fractional CFO services, it all starts with a free strategy session. Somebody on my team will sit with you for 30 minutes and help you to identify what is the direction that you want to be going in, identify what are the obstacles that are in your way, identify how you can overcome those, and really clarify for you what are the next steps that you need to be taking in the growth of your business. Really simple process. It's very, very clarifying and exciting. A lot of people walk away from it really wowed by the fact that they were able to get that much value in 30 minutes. And at the end of that, if it makes sense for you to explore working with us, that's great. But if not, at least we helped you create some clarity in the growth of your business. So go to profitwithlaw.com/strategy session. Again, profitwithlaw.com/strategy session. Book your free 30-minute call with one of our coaches, and they'll step you through that process. Once again, Jaclyn, thank you for being here. Folks, we are here every single Thursday with another amazing guest interview. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to the show in your podcast player as well as on YouTube so that you get notified when we go live. We'll see you next week. Take care.